All right, here we go. Waking up, waking up. Hope everybody is doing well. Looks like YouTube is waking up. Let me just make sure everything's loaded here. And then we will begin, everybody. There we go. Rockfin is kicking in. What's up, Rockfin? I have a big bandage on my dumb face. I have a big YouTube is live as well. And Twitter's up. All right, we are officially live. What's up, everybody? Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron, the headline show where we go through some of the news of the week. Shout out to our friends who make this show possible, our friends over at Indie Left. Indie Left is a place to find the content creators and streamers and article writers you know and love. They curate a list. They update it twice a day to find out everything they got going on. And to subscribe to their Discord, go to independentleft.media. For everybody listening to the podcast later, you're not going to be privy to this. You're missing out. But for everybody who is watching the live stream, well, podcast listeners, you aren't really missing out at all. But I got to mention this for everybody watching this now. I have a big Band-Aid on my face, and it looks freaking ridiculous. I had, it's so random. I got this cut on my forehead. It's not bad. Like, I'm fine. But it was so just like when I looked at this screen, it was just so prominent, like just this big. And I'm like, I got to put a Band-Aid on this. It just looks ridiculous. So it still looks ridiculous. But I have a ridiculous Band-Aid on my forehead. Just in time for the holidays. I have this really stupid looking Band-Aid. I'm like, the Band-Aid will be better. Then I put the Band-Aid on. And I'm like, I feel like it's just a bunch of losses here. I had a birthday recently, and that's how I'm ringing it in. I got a Band-Aid on my goofy face. Just, one of the first comments I ever got when I started doing stuff on YouTube. I mean, this was pre-Rockfin. This was many years ago. And I started doing some segments on YouTube. And my YouTube channel has kind of gone off and on over the years. At times it would kind of be, it would kind of be on hiatus because I was trying to figure out what was next. And, I was a road comic, so I was on the road all the time. And, but one of the first comments I ever got was somebody who said, "Is there any way you could do audio only because you are ugly as shit?" And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget. Sometimes I'm like, maybe I should have taken their advice. I think I'm an average looking guy. I don't think I'm, I'm not posing for GQ anytime soon, but I don't think I'm ugly. But yeah, every now and again, I just have this cut on my forehead and I think because I'm a ginger, like the stuff shows easier on my skin. You know what I mean? So it was just this big red freaking blotch. And I'm like, I don't want people staring at this big red blotch while I'm talking about important shit that's going on in the news. I'd rather make them stare at a Band-Aid. All right, dude with a Band-Aid giving you the news. Let's get into it. We have some breaking news when it comes to Julian Assange. And unfortunately, the summary here, I mean, if you had to summarize today's episode in one sentence, fuck Kellogg's and free Assange. That'd be it. Fuck Kellogg's, free Assange. We're going to get to Kellogg's later. We're going to start with Assange. And unfortunately, in the words of one of my favorite musicians of all time, and maybe one of yours as well, he's up there. He's not my favorite, but he's up there. Tom Petty, the waiting is the hardest part. And that's kind of where we're at when it comes to Julian Assange. This is directly from WikiLeaks Twitter. And they say, breaking ruling on the U.S.'s appeal against refusal to extradite Assange will be given tomorrow, December 10th at 10:15 a.m. at the Court of Appeal in London. So that's going to be 10:15 a.m. London time. They're going to be giving the ruling on extraditing Julian Assange. Now, WikiLeaks also gave a kind of quick summary of where we're at so far. This is a very, very brief summary, but we're going to break it down. I think they do a pretty good job here. So a decision is due shortly on the U.S.'s appeal against a U.K. court decision refusing to extradite our publisher. This is from the WikiLeaks Twitter, Julian Assange. Here's what's at stake. So here's their short on this. I want to read this for you. On January 4th, 2021, a UK judge ruled that extraditing Julian Assange to the United States would be oppressive and would amount to a death sentence and must be stopped. 2 days before leaving office, the Trump administration appealed the decision, And appeal arguments were heard by the UK's High Court on the 27th and 28th of October in 2021. The High Court is due to rule on the U.S. appeal imminently, and as we know now, that ruling will happen tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. in London. That's tomorrow, as of the recording of this, which will be Friday, December 10th, 10:15 a.m. in London. The U.S. purports to give, quote, assurances about the treatment Assange would face in the U.S. prison in its attempts to overturn the district judge's opinion. These assurances, quote unquote, specifically allowed the U.S. to inflict torture on Julian Assange, explicitly asserting that the U.S. government can still impose the very conditions that the magistrate found would kill him. Amnesty International has described these so-called assurances as inherently unreliable, that's putting it gently, and has said that Assange must be released immediately. Amen. The U.S. prosecution is entirely related to documents Assange published in 2010, revealing war crimes and major human rights abuses. Assange faces a 175-year sentence if extradited. The decision to prosecute Assange has been universally condemned by all major free speech, human rights, and media organizations as an unprecedented threat to the public's right to know. I think that's a pretty good summary. So here's the nuts and bolts of it. When they refused to extradite to the US, Assange to the U.S., obviously it was means to be happy. It was good news, but it wasn't the greatest news we'd hoped for. They didn't not extradite him because they said, hey, this court case is completely bogus. We got to free this guy immediately. This is beyond messed up. They didn't extradite him because they said, hey, the U.S. court systems are way too freaking barbaric. That's way too much. We can't expose him to that. They'll freaking kill him. That's what they decided. So that was why they didn't extradite Assange. And, of course, the Trump administration appealed that. The Trump administration, one of the arguments you hear from the anti-Assange crew is, oh, he was helping Trump. He was working in conjunction with Trump. The Trump administration tried to assassinate him. The Trump administration was trying. Yahoo News did a big deep dive into that, found out the Trump administration, something we already knew, but it was confirmed, the Trump administration was trying to assassinate the guy. They were trying to kill him. Because, yeah. And again, every free press organization, everyone from Amnesty International, ACLU, pretty much every journalist, free press organizations, they're all saying, free this guy immediately. And, oh, here's another little fun tidbit. So check this out. Tomorrow's judgment in Assange extradition case will be delivered by a judge who is a 40-year good friend of the minister who orchestrated his arrest. Oh, my God. And look, this is one of the shows, and there have been a lot of them out there. And kudos to everybody who's refused to let this story die, and especially those who go to London and go to these other places firsthand to report on what's going on. I've said it before on this show. I'll say it again, and I'll keep saying it. Thank you guys so much for being there, because you are the lens for those of us who aren't able to be there and who still want to report on this, because we know that you're the boots on the ground telling us what's actually going on, not giving us a sanitized, corporate-approved assessment of what's going on, but are actually there telling us what's going on and what the people are saying. The people in London pushing for this guy's freedom. And, one of the things I've done that I encourage you to do this holiday season especially is just every now and again, just on your personal social media, just say, hey, if you don't know what to make of the Assange case, just put this out to people just general people in your life. Just be like, look, if you don't know what to make of the Assange case, message me, and I'll share with you what I know. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to, how do you not know this? You're so stupid. Nope, none of that. None of that. And any question, I'm not going to judge any question you have. Ask about whatever. Ask about whatever. Because, I firmly believe this. I think that if most people, and I'm talking like general public, but like general people who only follow what the corporate media tells them about this case, I think if most people knew what was really going on, I think everybody would be calling for his freedom. But one of the most basic rules of propaganda, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but one of the most basic rules of propaganda, repeat a lie often enough, people believe it to be true. People are just going to accept it as true. So they repeated all these lies about Assange often enough. All these lies about the charges against him, all these lies about what it really meant, like what they were doing, all these like, oh, he was in cahoots with Russia, he was orchestrating this plot to help Trump win, blah blah blah. He helped Chelsea Manning obtain documents. That there's none of that's true. None of that is true. But you repeat a lie often enough, people just tend to believe it. People just kind of accept it. And they kind of just repeat it uncritically. And I think in many cases, it's not like people are necessarily bad people. They're just not being given proper information. So I personally, I've been able to flip a few people on Assange. I've been able to people who, repeated all the talking points, and I was able to kind of like pick them apart. And afterwards, they were like, "Thank you, you changed my mind about this. I was wrong. I was wrong about Assange. He should be freed immediately." So, and I know you're thinking, "Geez, Ron, that sounds like a small drop in the bucket compared to what we're up against," and it is. It is. I'm not implying if we all post about Assange on our Facebook, he'll be freed immediately. But I am saying that anything you can do, anything any of us can do to help is infinitely important. Whether it's covering it on your show, whether it's showing up to a protest on his behalf, whether it's telling your friends and family, whatever it is, anything and everything we can do to help. This is an assault on free press of a generation. And Julian Assange isn't the only one. We know this. But this guy's been in solitary confinement and tortured for years on these beyond bogus charges. I mean, to quote my buddy Gordon Dimmick, who's over in the UK, I mean, calling this whole thing a kangaroo court is an insult to kangaroos. It's light years beyond that. It's one of those things, you can't even believe this is happening. Every time we cover Assange, I have that moment where I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. So, folks, we got to hurry up and wait. When it comes to Julian Assange, we got to hurry up and wait. And we've been hurrying up and waiting for a long time now. And, I can only imagine what it's like for his wife. I can only imagine what it's like for his family. I can only imagine the brutality of emotions they have to go through. And then, of course, what it's like for him. And hopefully it's upheld and they're not going to send him to the United States. Because if they send him to the United States, we're not going to know anything. We're not going to know anything if they send him to the United States. They will keep us in the dark as much as they possibly can. So, even though that ruling was not the ruling we really wanted, which was we're going to throw this case out and give this guy a settlement so that he never has to worry about money for the rest of his freaking life, because this has been beyond bogus and we've taken years away from this man's life and all he did was his job. He's a publisher. He published documents. But a lot of those documents were things powerful people didn't want you to see. So that's the update there. And moving on to some other topics here in the United States, we're they're talking about the debt ceiling again. They're having that imaginary conversation. There's an imaginary debt ceiling conversation when this just happened. Check it out. House approved $768 billion defense funding bill. They're giving $768 billion. Caitlin Johnstone had a very brilliant tweet where she's like, when they give defense more money after they just de-escalated a war, that proves it's a freaking scam. After you're just saying, hey, we're getting out of Afghanistan, finally, we should have never been there in the first place. We're getting out of Afghanistan. Oh, and we're giving defense more money. Caitlin Johnstone pointed out on Twitter, that's a freaking scam, which I know we know this. But it's like, how much can it just slap you in the face? I want to go through the CBS article. There's a reason I selected CBS here. So the House on Tuesday approved the 2022 annual defense bill, blah, 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 blah. The Pentagon's getting a bunch of money because why not? Here we go. Check this out. Check out how they laid this out. This is deliberate. Ukraine aid. While Russia continues to build up forces near Ukraine's border, prompting concern in the U.S. and Western Europe. The U.S. plans to send more aid to Ukrainian security forces. China, to deter China, the bill includes $7.1 billion for the Indo-Pacific Deterrence Initiative. Why? Why is it framed this way? Because this is the way the U.S. empire works. One side screams Russia all day. That's the Democrat side. One side screams China all day. That's the Republican side. And at the end of the day, we're always at war with Eurasia, folks. We're always at war with Eurasia. One side, Russia's the boogeyman. One side, China's the boogeyman. And we're always at war with Eurasia. So give the war industry more money. Give them more money. They need more of it because they're padding the pockets of the weapons manufacturers and the CEOs and Wall Street, which funds the war machine and profits off of it. Meanwhile, we accept the declining quality of life. We're the richest country in the world, don't have universal health care, don't have free college, don't even have affordable college, really. It's not even that we don't have free college. We don't even have affordable college. We don't even have, other countries, maybe it's not quote unquote free, but it's something like a semester's like $400, something like that, $500. Hell, even that would be a hell of an improvement compared to what we got. Man. Just think about where that money would go. Meanwhile, they're having this imaginary debate. This imaginary debate about we're going to raise the debt ceiling or we're going to default on our debt. We've covered on this show, in particular during our MMT segments. We do an MMT segment once a month on Mondays. It's MMT Monday, and that is the second Monday of the month at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. And then, of course, the podcast comes out later. We have talked about how the whole blabbering about the debt ceiling is a bunch of bullshit. It's a bunch of nonsense. Read Stephanie Kelton's book, The Deficit Myth. It's nonsense. And they just jerk each other off about it all the time. It's a complete waste of everyone's time. We create our currency. It's a complete waste of time babbling about it. They're babbling about this. Meanwhile, they're simultaneously giving defense $768 billion. Meanwhile, Jen Psaki, moving on to Jen Psaki, she really stepped in it this week, didn't she? Here's a gem from Jen Psaki talking about COVID testing and how we just can't afford any of that here in the United States, even though, once again, a bunch of other countries have figured that one out. This is from Layla, friend of the show. She's got a wonderful podcast with Pat the Burner.
Should we just send one
to
everyone?
Check this out.
Why not just make them free and give them out and have them available everywhere?
So
Should we just send one?
That reporter is talking about COVID tests. They're saying, why not just make them free and send them out everywhere? Why not just make them free or really affordable and just send them out to everyone? Here's what Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary, here's what she has to say about this.
Why not just make them free and give them out and have them available everywhere?
Should we just send one to every American?
Every Singapore.
Yes! She said that sarcastically. And then she had, for those of you listening to the podcast later, she had a little like smirk on her face. Like, should we just send them to every American? Yes, Jen. Yes. We should send them to every American. Other countries have done this. In England, they send free tests to people. By the way, this is England. They have the right-wing Boris Johnson government, but they don't have a testing crisis like we have here in the United States. They send them to people. They are either free, or in some cases, if you have to pay, they're $1 or the equivalent of $1. That's how much they cost. In England, pretty much everywhere in the EU, they send kids home with boxes of tests. In Denmark, they were testing teachers regularly. It was free and available, and they were testing teachers. We didn't do anything like that in the United States, and guess what? A quarter of all of our new cases were coming from our school children because it was spreading there. Yes, Jen, you make testing free and widely available. Everywhere else has figured that out. Here in the United States, tests average around $25. At most, they're $1 in other places. $1 at most. Usually they're free. Sometimes it costs you $1. Here, they're $25. Oh, and Joe Biden, they're working to cut it down a little bit and make it more affordable. You know what their goal is? You know what they're trying to get it down to? $12. So if the donors approve, if the ruling class approves, we might work it down so that you're only paying 12 times as much. 12 times as much as countries that actually have universal health care. This is a scam. This is an empire. She's just laughing at the idea of having things that other countries have many times over. And we just gave the Pentagon $768 billion. But we can't have free and affordable testing during a pandemic. We can't have that. We can't have that here in the United States. Let's so this is a video that Layla shares that the Recount made. Let's watch the rest of this video because they kind of put this together in video form.
Household will be getting 6 COVID-19 self-test kits in the post starting tomorrow.
Everyone can now get free rapid COVID-19 tests twice a week.
So these are all the other countries that they're just giving people free tests. Check it out.
How your
There's
workplace
Canada.
can order free rapid tests. Visit canada.ca/COVID workplace testing.
Kenyans continue to turn up for the free mass testing across Nairobi for COVID-19.
At this Aldi supermarket, they're displayed right by the checkout.
Mandatory tests for COVID-19 disease. They're free of charge.
Free coronavirus tests are offered at the nation's highway rest stops.
Should we just send one to every American?
It's unbelievable. I mean, this video by the Recount is very powerful. All these other countries, yeah, tests are free and widely available, or if you got to pay for them, they're like $1. The most expensive thing I've heard, outside of the United States, of course, was I think in some cases they were up to $3. And that might just be speculation. I mean, that was just like stuff on Twitter that I saw. It might not even be that much. But the highest, the most expensive that I heard outside of, the lunacy in the United States, $3. And here we have a White House press secretary laughing at the idea. Laughing at that, like, say, oh, of course we can't do that. What's the next gem from Jen Psaki going to be? What are you suggesting we do? Give everyone in the country health care? Where does that happen? Most other places, Jen. Most other places. And by the way, why does the job of White House press secretary exist? Let's go back for a second. Why is that even a job? The president is an elected official. They supposedly work for us, and they don't have to answer to us all the frickin' time. Why? Why the hell not? Why is White House press secretary? Oh, the president's busy. Doing what? Let's back it up for the past few presidents. George W. Bush spent half the time on vacation. Barack Obama spent most of his time making up excuses on why he couldn't do anything when he had both the House and the Senate. Donald Trump spent most of his time watching TV or golfing. Joe Biden, I don't know what Joe Biden spends his time doing. I'm going to guess relearning the alphabet. Why? What are these presidents so busy doing that they can't speak on their own behalf? Most powerful person in the world, they can speak on their own frickin' behalf all times. The job shouldn't exist. It's a stupid job. It's pointless. It shouldn't frickin' exist. The president's been doing what? Oh, they're taking a dump. We'll frickin' wait. We'll wait. So anyway, it shouldn't even be a job. And man, she irritating. I mean, Sarah Huckabee was annoying too. Just laughing and scoffing at the idea. I mean, how did she not realize that? And by the way, like in the exchange between her and that reporter, which, hey, kudos to that reporter for bringing this up. In that exchange, the reporter just said, look, I know other countries have figured it out. Other countries are doing it. And then Jen Psaki gave some lip service nonsense like, oh, well, I feel like we share the same goals. No, we don't, Jen. No, the governments do not share the same goal. Because your goal, Jen Psaki and the White House and the establishment, your goal is to make the donors happy and to please the insurance companies. In other places, their goal is actually public health. So no, Jen, the goals aren't the same. If the goals were the same, we would have free and widely available testing here in the United States. We don't. Our goals aren't the same because it's a very easily doable thing, but we don't have it here. So, man, what a moment. What a moment. Well, simultaneously, they're giving the Pentagon $768 billion. How can anyone be an apologist for this bullshit anymore? You still see it every day. You still, well, the United States, we're not perfect, but blah, blah, blah. This is a freaking, we are the King's Landing of the goddamn world. We just are. We're an empire. We behave like one. And we will have the same fate as every other empire. It's going to end the exact same. We're not going to be different. Our goal should be, let's make sure it ends as peacefully as possible. So let's move on to a little bit of good news. And by the way, speaking of good news, I got to mention this. If you haven't already, please, I highly recommend checking out Monday's episode where I talked to Ernesto Falcone about both the California broadband bill and the broadband proportions in the infrastructure bill, and basically just the future of broadband. I was really excited about that episode. In some ways, I feel like it was maybe the most important episode that I've ever done in Get Your News On with Ron. Important in the sense of this is the type of change that we have the possibility to make. This is the type of change that we can potentially make. And as you listen to that episode, I'm going to plant this seed. When we talk about the political will necessary to do this, because basically there's a broadband bill in California. It's been signed. Gavin Newsom signed it, and it's going to allocate a lot of money for broadband bill, which can for broadband, which is going to make California the leader in the country on statewide broadband. And cities and communities can get involved. And it takes some political will to do that. But the political will really rests not with Congress, but with your local officials, your city councils, your mayors. That's where the political will rests. And when you listen to the interview with Ernesto, he says that too. So, again, this show, we talk about local is so important. And I know, and I'm not trying to bash people who run for office. I'm really not trying to do that. But I can promise you, next year, it's going to be an election year. It's going to be the midterms. And I'm going to get a lot of emails. Everybody who has a show is going to get a lot of emails. And 99.9% of those emails will be people trying to run for Congress, trying to run for Senate. And again, I'm not saying that I get that electoralism is part of the puzzle. I get that. It's an overamplified part of the puzzle. People spend way too much time talking about it. And that's why I try to spend less time talking about it here. And when you don't talk about it much, it ain't good for clicks. But, oh well. But I'm just saying, I wish that for every 5 emails I got about Congress, I got 2 or 3 about people running for city council, people running for mayor, people running for school board even people who maybe want to do something about that broadband bill and have a plan for it. That's where you really got some power, people. And I'm not saying local politics are completely flawless or don't have any corruption. Of course they do. But they're so much more transparent in comparison. And here we have an opportunity to do with broadband what was done with electricity generations ago. When electricity used to kind of be a thing, not everyone had it. There was a divide. Then they made it a utility. And it's what we know as today. We have the opportunity now to do that with broadband. It is a real opportunity. And it is a reason for hope. And by the way, that's connected to so many other things, no pun intended. That's connected to climate change, because in the global digital village, that's better for our carbon footprint. It's connected to information and press freedom, because without a free and open internet, how are we going to exchange content and share information? It's connected to protests and strikes and activism, because again, we need the best communication vehicles possible to accomplish these things. And in this day and age, that's data. That's the internet. So it is connected to so many freaking other things. And we have a historic opportunity in front of us that we need to make the most of. Take it from me. I got a Band-Aid on my dumb face. I'm sorry about this Band-Aid. I appreciate you guys not. It'd be funny if everyone just left. They were like, oh, that stupid Band-Aid. I can't get over how I have a cut on my forehead, and it was very pronounced, and I was a little self-conscious about it. So I figured, what, it'll be better if I have a huge freaking Band-Aid on my face. That's a much better solution. All the podcast listeners are like, man, I'm glad we're dodging these bullets. We don't have to look at the dumb Band-Aid on his face. We just have to hear about it. We'll take that. All right. So again, ending with a little bit of, well, I guess maybe good news isn't the right way to put it, but it's an update on the Kellogg strike. As you guys know, the workers at Kellogg's have been on strike for a while now because Kellogg's has these two-tiered employee systems where basically the second-tier employees have no right whatsoever. They're working people insanely long hours, not giving them living wages. You know, it's more of the same here in the United States. But here's what they're doing. Here's what Kellogg's decided to do because they gave people a crappy offer. The union rejected it. Here was Kellogg's response to them rejecting their crappy offer. Union calls Kellogg's latest offer a Trojan horse, so the cereal company will replace strikers. This is from MLive out in Michigan. Kellogg's announced its plan to hire permanent replacements after union members voted against the company's latest offer this week. For the past 9 weeks, 1,400 Kellogg workers have been on the picket line in Michigan, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, and Nebraska. In Battle Creek, where the company is headquartered, 325 hourly workers are standing with the union's decision to not return until their demands are met. Workers walked out at midnight on October 5th once their contract expired. So Kellogg's decided they are going to hire a bunch of scabs. So here's the issue here. The two-tier system. So this is how Kellogg's, they have this two-tier system where there's like legacy employees and then other employees. And basically, if you're the other tier, you have no rights whatsoever. But because, well, here, let me just read the way the article puts it. The two-tier system remains the tension point as the company will not agree to a definitive cap on how many years before they'll move transitional workers into legacy status. Without a defined cap, the union fears transitional workers will outnumber the legacy, thus undermining future negotiations. So a bunch of legacy workers, they're older, they're getting ready to retire, and they have more say in negotiating these contracts, whereas the non-legacy people, the transitional, I guess they're calling them, they don't have that type of power, but the company knows there's going to be more transitional than legacy, so they're going to have more power over the workers. And we all know this is by design. So Biddleman estimates 700 of the 1,400 workers are on track to retire within the next 10 years. So that's half. That's about half. So they're going to be gone. So then the workers who remain aren't going to have any power, basically. So Kellogg's decided they're just going to hire scabs. That's what Kellogg's decided they're going to do. They're just going to hire all new workers. They're recruiting other workers now. And, you know, I'm gonna leave us with this. And here's kind of a question. And let me know what you think. Please do leave a super chat or a Rockfin tip. Let me know what you think about this. So they're saying that I tweeted this out a while ago. And it was meant as like a tongue-in-cheek, just fun, you know, playful tweet. It wasn't necessarily meant to be taken literally. But of course, people did take it literally because this is, you know, Twitter. You know, there's plenty of people who go on Twitter and have no sense of irony, do not understand sarcasm. And for some reason, they follow comedians anyway, which is weird, but whatever. You know, I mean, I never use one of those sarcasm indicators because, like, my thing is, and I'm not trying to, like, I don't mean to sound like judgmental here, but if you seriously don't understand sarcasm to a point where, like, it's clear a comedian is engaging in sarcasm and you just don't understand that, so something offends you, I'm just not a good account for you to follow. You know, it's like just don't follow me or unfollow me. I mean, clearly I'm not for you because you don't understand. Anyway, so I tweeted this thing out where I said, it said something like cross the picket line, but then there was an asterisk. And then after the asterisk, it said to just sit on the job and do nothing until they fire you. Now, I mean, that was meant to be sort of a tongue-in-cheek thing where you're just like, wait, Ron said cross a picket line. And then you read the other thing and you're like, ha. But the more I thought about it, I actually think that's not a terrible idea. Where you have infiltrators who take these jobs and then do nothing. Where you have people, you see what I'm saying? Where it's like they're kind of quote unquote scabs, but they're undercover scabs. And why do I advocate for this? I advocate for this because we know that they infiltrate us all the time. We know that, you know, the companies, the executives, the CEOs, whatever, they infiltrate the workers all the time. They have their informants. They have their hired workers to try to crush union efforts. They spy on workers. Jeff Bezos got caught doing that last year around this time. They infiltrate us all the time. Why not fight back a little bit and infiltrate them in a different way? Hey, I'd like to take this job, and I think all the terms are just fine. Then you go and you sit on your ass until they fire you. You sit on your ass and read a book. And if anyone's like, hey, why aren't you working? You do this. Now, I know you might be thinking, Ron, that's kind of unfair but it's like other workers won't get in trouble for that, but they'll have to answer for it. The higher ups will eventually have to do something. So yeah, I actually advocate for that. They infiltrate us all the time. It's time to fight back. So if you're in these places and you think, man, I don't have a job, get one of these jobs, and you're thinking, I don't want to be a scab, be an undercover. Get one of these jobs, do nothing until they fire you. And then you put everyone in a situation where they're like, we don't know. There's an effort. And hey, cooperate with the union. There's an effort here that they're infiltrating us. So we don't know if we can hire people now because we don't know if they're going to do that same thing. They're sabotaging us. So we have no choice. We have to raise our wages. We have to meet them. We have to frickin', you know what I mean? And I know some of you might be watching this. You might be like, Ron, that's kind of an unorthodox idea. I don't know if it'll work. Guess what? We have been losing for a century. Maybe it's time to try some other fucking things. Are you tired of losing yet? Are you sick of it? I am. As long as I've been alive, and I've been alive for 100 freaking years, but as long as I've been alive, we've done nothing but lose. The left has done nothing but lose in this country. I mean, yeah, there's some like small societal gains here and there, but overall, we have done nothing but lose. We have no representation electorally, none. I mean, outside of some local stuff here and there. We have no real political power. We're still very small in numbers. And we've done nothing but lose for a century. So I say we start thinking out of the box with ways to fight back. And this is one of the ways I say we fight back. I say we get people to take these jobs, to pose as scabs, and then they just do nothing. They sit there and they read a book. And then they're going to be like, well, clearly you're not working. We're going to fire you. Like, okay, see you later. And then we send in other people to do the same thing. And then they're going to realize, they're going to be like, we can't hire anybody because we don't know if they're decoys. They might be decoys. And then we're going to spend our payroll on this person because we got to pay them. And we're just losing money. Good. Make them lose money. Make them bleed money. They deserve it. Kellogg's has exploited workers for way too long. They don't deserve to be a company anymore. And they're one of many companies. You know what else would be amazing? What would be really amazing? If somehow all these workers gathered and they formed a workers' co-op and they started making the products. They started making the products, slap a different name on it. That'd be amazing too. I don't buy any Kellogg's products. And now I'm going to make sure I don't buy any Kellogg's products, obviously. But I don't think I was before. I mean, I liked Pop-Tarts when I was a kid because who didn't? But I haven't had a Pop-Tart in a really long time. But if that happened where they were like, we're going to make all this stuff and we have this workers co-op, I'd go out of my way to start liking Pop-Tarts again. I mean, I'm sure they're still tasty. It's just one of those things you kind of outgrew, you know? But anyway. All right. So there you go. Shout out to the Kellogg's workers. We're in support of you. And I hope this backfires on Kellogg's completely. I hope their scab effort backfires on them completely. And it's repulsive what they are doing. Do not buy Kellogg's. You can find all kinds of memes out there. I mean, if there's some Kellogg's products that you like, you can find alternatives. You can find there's other things you can buy. So check that out. I don't have any actual tips for you because, yeah, again, I'm pretty sure I don't buy any. I don't buy any Kellogg's products. But anyway, I don't know. What do you think of my idea? I don't know if it's. I mean, I get how some people, they might be like, I don't know, Rod, that's little, but we got to start fighting out of the box. Pun intended. Oh man, I almost missed a fun pun there. We got to start, when it comes to Kellogg's, we got to start fighting out of the box. Look, come on. This is, I'm a dude with a big ass Band-Aid on his face making really cheesy puns. And you all stick around anyway because you're beautiful fucking people. I love you all very much. Seriously, thank you for being here. Before we go, I'll get to the chats in a minute here, but before we go, I gotta announce tour dates. I got them. April. I'm going back out on the road in April, and I should have some international news soon too, which I'm really excited about. But I'm going back out on the road in April. Pittsburgh, kicking off in my hometown. I can't freaking wait. April 16th. And Mr. Smalls in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Lauren Ashcraft's going to be on that show with me. Chris Moen's going to be there as well. Can't wait to see my buddies. Can't wait to do that show. It's going to be awesome. Grab your tickets now. Don't wait. After Pittsburgh, I'm going up north to see y'all in Canada. What's that about, eh? Canada. I'm going to Toronto. I'm going to Ottawa. I'm going to Montreal. Then I'm coming back down to the States. I'm going to Burlington, Vermont, Portland, Maine, Boston, Massachusetts, and New York City, baby. Do not wait. Get your tickets now. RonPlacone.com for all those tickets. Also, still working on the movie, and we're going to be breaking ground on the movie soon. I know a lot of you have given to the GoFundMe for Left at Wall. If you still want to make a contribution to help that movie happen, you can go to GoFundMe.com, type in Left at Wall, or you can check it out on my YouTube channel, or it's my pinned tweet over on Twitter. Check out the movie trailer. If you want to make a contribution, I give everyone a thank you on Get Your News On with Ron. Also, if you give $100 or more, we'll put your name in the credits too. And we'll be sharing a lot of fun behind the scenes videos and stuff like that. So if you want to help get the movie made and make a contribution, go to GoFundMe.com, type in Left at Wall, and you can make a contribution. Or even if you can't make a contribution, watch the trailer anyway. Maybe you're like, hey, Ron, I can't really make a contribution right now. That's totally cool. Watch the trailer anyway. Share it. Tell your friends about it. I'm excited to make this movie, and I can't wait for y'all to see it. And, of course, happy holidays. We got a few more weeks of the show before I break for the holiday season. You guys know I usually right before the Christmas holiday, I kind of call it a year and take a little break and a recharge. So we got 2 more weeks left after today. We got 2 more weeks of the show. We got an MMT Monday segment coming up this coming Monday with Jeff Epstein, my MMT guy. Not that Jeff Epstein. He's a good Jeff Epstein. He's an MMT Jeff Epstein. So we got our segment coming up on Monday. Then my last guest for the year is going to be Tara Reid. Tara and I are going to kind of do a fun interview to end the year. I'm really looking forward to talking to her. I did her podcast recently. So guys, thank you for being here. And of course, if you want to support the show on the sustainability end, best thing to do is become a patron, patreon.com/Ron Placone for a give what you can level. You get all kinds of perks, video clips not available anywhere else, some free tickets to some shows. I'll be making some announcements about that soon. That's a perk if you're a patron. I'll make you a theme song, which, by the way, makes a great holiday gift. I got a lot of theme songs to make for the holidays. I'd love to make one for you or a loved one. Great holiday gift, no shipping involved. And you can get all of that for a give what you can level. I don't have any tiers on my Patreon. It is give what you can. So even $1 a month goes a long way because I want to build a community. That's what I really want. So if you're thinking, man, I don't have a ton of money to spare, Ron, but $1 a month, I can spare that. Patreon.com/Ron Placone. Even $1 a month goes a long way. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Let me go to the chat now. Aspen Fallen, what's up? Aspen Fallen says, tip for Ron to buy more Band-Aids. I know. I won't have this thing next week. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think it'll be fine. But yes, thank you for that. If I need more Band-Aids, that's good. Venetia David, what's up? I hope all is well in the UK and can't wait to see you on tour in the UK. Don't worry about the Band-Aid. Makes you look edgy. Thank you for that, Venetia. And Aspen Fallen, what's up? Good to see you again. Speaking of infiltrating, I love this comment. Speaking of infiltrating, Rod has a literal scab on his forehead right now. Yes, I do. So many goofy puns associated with the Kellogg strike. Folks, it's more fun to talk about workers' rights with puns. It makes it a little more fun. Thank you so much for pointing that out, Aspen Fallen. Thank you, Aspen Fallen. Thank you, Venetia David, for the super chat contribution. And thank you all for being here. We'll be back on Monday with the MMT Monday segment with Jeff Epstein. That streams live at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. And until then, you all know the drill. Lucy, she says meow. She's taking a nap on the couch, but she says meow. And I say peace. Peace.